Welcome to For the Long Run, the podcast exploring the why behind what keeps runners running long, strong, and motivated. I'm your host, Jonathan Levitt. I've been running for a few years now and have the privilege of meeting many incredible runners on my travels all across the country. This podcast is intended to share those amazing conversations. This week's guest is Tim Ritchie. Tim and I spoke before the Boston Marathon, a race that he grew up watching as an athlete and coach at Boston College, which is right after Heartbreak Hill on the marathon course. In our interview, which took place on the Friday before the marathon, Tim shared that he hadn't run in the last 7 days and more about the dark place he was in leading up to race day and how he was managing that. Tim had a 2:21 debut at the 2013 Boston Marathon and has brought his marathon time down to a 2:11.56 en route to winning the USA Track and Field Marathon Championships at CIM in 2017. We talked about what got him out the door the first time, his progression, and how he keeps the fire lit as a pro runner. We talked about his love for the journey, both his own and those of the athletes that he coaches now at UMass Amherst and with McKirdyTrained. We dug into his why and the spiritual and religious connection he feels when he's running and racing. Tim runs for Saucony and coaches at UMass Amherst and with McKirdyTrained. Enjoy. Hello again. I'm here with Tim Ritchie in Boston, Massachusetts. Tim is in town to get a little bus ride out to Hopkinton and find his way back in. So thanks for joining me today, Tim, and excited to chat.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. Looking forward to it.
For sure. So you've run Boston a couple times now. What is it that keeps bringing you back?
Yeah, that's a great question to start.
We're just going to dive right into it.
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking a lot about. Yeah, I mean, this is just such a special race for me. Like, I knew about Boston before I really knew about running. Mm-hmm. And when I was a kid, we'd come in here, and with my uncle, it took me in, I think, for my first Boston. And yeah, it was just such a cool concept to see so many people running together in the same direction. You know, it was such a novel thing for me. And then going to BC and watching the race every year, it really just kind of became the lifeblood of what the running community is to me and what this, what running means for the city. So, it's evolved a lot over the years, my relationship with the marathon and my relationship with running. But yeah, Boston's kind of been in more ways than one, a foundational piece of my running story.
Definitely. So, you mentioned that BC is sort of a big brick in the house of your running. I've run Boston a couple times, and there's just that energy when you crest Heartbreak and you're coming down past BC. And I did a little course preview and I recorded it, and my commentary was the most beer per square foot on the entire course is right on that front yard. But talk to me about like the energy that brings, and then what does it do for you as someone who's racing, all out?
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable because that's where I was as a fan for many years. It's just such a unique part of the course because it's after you crest Heartbreak, and so you see just a lot of this triumph. Everybody who's there, everyone's totally exhausted and drained after cresting Heartbreak, but you see this like, wow, I did that, I'm gonna make it, sort of thing. So that was always inspiring for me as a athlete and a coach at BC when we'd be out there from the first runner to the last runner, supporting everybody through. And then, I've run Boston twice previously and barely made it to the top of Heartbreak the first time and really was relying on the crowd to kind of pull me down the backside. And then last year I didn't even make it to that part, which is really disappointing and really hurt because those guys on the team now, I don't know many of them anymore because I've been removed for the last 3 years. But, talking with my old coach at BC, he said they're all out there super excited to cheer me on. And, I know that the community there is aware that I'm going to be running. So, so it's definitely really special. It was like a holiday every year at BC. So I know they'll be up early lubricating their cheering voices. Yep. And it's going to be a rowdy time.
Nice. What's your favorite spot on the course?
I mean, that's it for sure. Just seeing Gaston Tower when you round the bend at the top of Heartbreak and just flying down that backside to, like you run by my old dorm. So it's just it just feels like home. I've run that stretch from 17 to 22 like a million times. So, and just every time I see the tower at the top of the hill, it's really special. And when you make it there from Hopkinton, it's always a pretty emotional experience for me.
Definitely. So you've been running for a while. What got you into it? What got you out the door the first time?
Yeah, I'd say my family. I had 2 brothers and a sister that were on the high school team, and it wasn't the sport that any of us did as kids. Like, we were all Little League baseball players in Worcester. And I was always good at the warm up and good at running the bases, so maybe there was some foundational work there. Then my older brothers ran cross country, and when I was an incoming freshman, the coach found out there was a third Ritchie boy. It was kind of mandatory that I'd be on the team. So I remember just going out for like my first run with them, and like we ran the 3-mile cross country course, and it was just this feeling of teamwork and camaraderie and accomplishment that I didn't really ever get in baseball. It was just something really primal about it. And so, that was the early experience.
You really like the team aspect of it?
Yeah, it's just something like the connective flow you get with other runners when you're out on a run. And I'm training solo a lot now, so it's something that I really miss. But I find that in other ways, even if it's not a physical thing I'm feeling. But just a bunch of guys in shorts ripping through the trails. Like, there's just something really simple about it.
Yeah, basic. Yeah.
And I try to not lose sight of that now that running's kind of taken on this whole new life and, a career in many ways. And so just try to remember that, what did get me into this in the first place? And it was, family and, and teamwork.
One of the consistencies, and it's going to sound silly to people that listen to all these episodes because I say this every time. One of the consistencies of people that are on this podcast is the emphasis on the journey and not the specific outcome. Like, if you don't hit your goal time or your goal place on Monday, it can't be the end all be all, right? How do you manage the expectation as an elite athlete while also staying true to, like, you just love running?
Yeah, that is the challenge, and I remember when I first signed my pro deal, like, feeling this extra expectation that I now had to go on and, like, do something different or do something better.
But they didn't sign you for that. They signed you for what you had done.
Yeah, and obviously they believed and invested in my potential, and there's been glimpses of that, so it's been good. But I mean, if you're in the sport long enough, there's so many ups and downs, and I think the very act of running kind of teaches us that. Like, every run you go on is a story. Like, you're feeling good, or you're not feeling good, or you're at one point, you're always in transition, and so learning to treat my running journey, like you said, or career or experience as a run has kind of has given me some sort of peace with the ups and downs, because there's been some really high moments in my running life and some really low moments. And so, I just try to never lose sight of how lucky I am to, like, have 2 legs that move and a beating heart, and just try to just be grateful for the gift of my life and the gift of movement.
Definitely. So when the going gets tough, when you're at mile 17, mile 18, mile 19, getting up Heartbreak, what's going through your head?
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 things. Like, you're, in a practical way, you're kind of locking in on your training, and you're remembering the work that you put in and what your race plan is, and that you're prepared to handle those moments. And then there's always for me, a spiritual, emotional element of that as well, where I'm kind of remembering why I'm doing this and thinking of my wife and my mother and, like, all the people that have made this possible for me. And so just kind of drawing on them. So, it's a team effort, truly is, even if it's just me out there putting one foot in front of the other.
Does that make it easier on the runs you're out by yourself on?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've always been a bit of an introvert, and just going out there and spending some time with myself, or for me, spending time with God, or with my angels. I'm always trying to be cognizant of that when I'm out for a run. So, but then sometimes, I'm also a competitor, so sometimes you're just out there trying to rip, and
Right.
that's good fuel too, and whether it's a tough training run or when you're in a competition, you're like trying to get down to the nitty gritty of competing as well.
Right.
So yeah, I've been lucky to be able to have an elite competitive element of my running, because I do think that gives it kind of a new perspective sometimes.
Definitely. So how do you keep it fresh and balanced with saving or enjoying the run and fulfilling the sponsor obligations and work obligations and family obligations? How do you sort of manage all of those things?
Yeah, I think they're all connected. So I just try to use, running it finds its way into every element of my life, for better or for worse. And so, I try to just keep a balanced perspective. So, when you have a good run, you're grateful for it. When you have a bad run,
Part of the territory?
Yeah, it's just like, okay. So I've always been pretty good, at least externally, as far as like letting it be what it is and moving forward. So, but I've been really fortunate to have a wife that's got my back, and she's like lets me do this and supports me in it. And same with my coworkers and my athletes at UMass. So
Go Minutemen.
Go Minutemen. We got a big national championship hockey game tomorrow
night. It's gonna be a good one up in Buffalo.
Oh yeah. So we're super excited after last night's game. But yeah, I've just been really fortunate to have just the right people in my corner, and that's been the case since day one, since I started running with my brothers and my high school coach, and just it's been a blessing.
Cool. What's it like being the coach out there?
It's been awesome. It's definitely been a transition for me and for the guys. They had 3 coaches within a 12-month span, with a retiring coach, an interim coach, and then myself coming in. But they've been really supportive and really patient with me, and they're buying in and they're believing in what we can do. And I came to UMass because I think we can be a winning program, and it's a school I've always had a passion for as a Mass native, and they got a great tradition, and so it's just been fun learning and meeting a lot of alumni, and coming up on 1 year, so it's been a blast so far. I'm looking forward to building some bridges out there.
Where do you guys do most of your training?
We're kind of all over the place. So there's some great spots on campus, for doing cross-country specific work. We have a cross-country course on campus. And then we're running north of campus a lot. Once you get up into the boonies above Amherst, there's some great dirt roads and hills that go for days, and single track trails. There's like 100 miles of single track trails just in the greater Amherst area. So, you could be out there and run something different every day of the week.
Cool. So you asked, when is this podcast being released? And I said, not until after Monday. And so you said we can get into the good stuff then. So let's hear the good stuff. What are you excited about for Monday?
Yeah, well, to be honest, man, I'm just hoping to get to Monday. So yeah, I haven't
a big weekend ahead.
Yeah. But I haven't run in the last 7 days.
All
so
right.
it's been my body's putting me through a bit of a challenge here, a bit of a hurdle in the 11th hour. So,
so what do you tell yourself in a moment like that?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do, I'm just trying to be hopeful and be positive, but there's definitely been some dark days. Like, I thought I was making some progress, and then Monday, Tuesday was just in a lot of pain and discomfort in my right hip, and just kind of, as much as externally I want to be a voice for positivity and be like, oh, it's just in my mind, I can control this. It's been pretty dark, just because I care so much about this race and an opportunity to, just kind of honor all the people that have been a part of this thing. And Boston's always funny because I'll get like calls and text messages from people I haven't talked to in like forever, wishing me luck and saying that they'll be out there cheering for me. And I get those even when I'm not running Boston. Like on a year that I don't run Boston, I'll get 50 good luck in Boston text messages from people that I used to know.
Yeah.
So I do feel like it's the one race of the year where I can kind of go out and celebrate the sport with everybody. So thinking that may or may not happen, or that might not happen to the level that I think I'm capable of, has been a bit of a challenge.
It gets back to the journey, though, right? It's all, it can't be good all the time, because then it'd be boring, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, there's been a lot of, like, yeah, I'm a pretty religious person, and
how does that play into your running?
I would say it's pretty fundamental. But in anything in my life, I try to view it all as a gift, and yeah, and just try to really spend some time listening to, like, what this is all supposed to be about.
Right. It's just running.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, I always say that, like, God made me a runner because that was the language that he knew I'd understand, and we could kind of communicate.
Express it, though, yeah.
Yeah, and so I do feel like that's when I have my conversations with him, and, and yeah, so it's kind of been fundamental. And it's easy to lose track of that. Like, unfortunately, I feel more connected to it when it's not going well. I think this is the case for a lot of people. It's like when things are going really well, you kind of forget you forget to give thanks in those moments,
right.
And then you expect something in the dark moments. And so I've been trying to really, like, have that perspective and be like, it's all good. Like, if I get to run, great. If I don't get to run, I got to figure out some other way to make the day special for other people. So yeah. So, but it has given me a little bit of patience. Like, whatever comes on Monday morning, it is what it is.
Meant to be.
Yeah.
I have a friend who, she got into running. She's also a religious person, and her take on it is God made her fast for a reason, and that's how she expresses her joy. And it would be a shame to waste it, a gift like that. And so she uses her speed, her gift of athleticism as a way to sort of celebrate and share and motivate others and that kind of stuff. I find that really cool.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And then, but there's also that challenge of, like, I also want to win,
Right.
And so that's been a process as well. Is like, how do I navigate this, like, desire to win and beat other athletes,
right.
with this, humility of, just accepting this as a gift. And so it's just kind of funny, like, where does pride kind of come into this? Like, am I really doing this to honor God, or am I doing this just because I want to win a race?
But it's like, it's not like, I don't know how to say it, but, like, you've done the work to sort of honor the process, and you've put in the work, and it's a celebration of everyone's fitness. Like, everyone that's able to get to that start line has gone through their ups and downs, and from there on out, like, it's gravy, and may the best athlete win. But that's the game.
No, that's definitely true. And that's what I try to keep my athletes aware of. I'm like, just control what you can control.
Right.
You can't change the weather. You can't change what your competitors are doing.
As much as you can tweet about it, you can't change the weather.
Yeah. So it's just like, just go, give your best. And then no matter what, when you cross the finish line, you'll know that you have done that,
Speaking of things you can't control, what do you think about the weather?
I've just been checking it out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Like, I could care less. Obviously I struggled in 2018 because of the weather, but for me, like, I come to Boston to compete.
Right.
And
You'll come to Boston for a good weather day.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, we've been out here all winter trying to, we're running it. It's been a cold, tough winter. And so, yeah, whatever happens. I mean, but it's like, that's the great thing about this race is you can get something on a Saturday, and then that Monday is the polar opposite. So,
and Tuesday it'll be beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a given. That's what you
Yes.
can control.
That is
Tuesday
very
is
true.
always nice. I mean, at least it's not Saturday. I think Saturday would be a hot one.
Yeah.
Tomorrow would be a hot one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so talk about the lead into Boston. Do you do tune-up races? Are you head down working since January? What does a build look like for you?
Yeah. So how it looks for me is probably slightly different than how it may look for somebody else. I'm just trying to like be consistent and get through the weeks. So there's been a lot of adjustments and a lot of changes and a lot of just times where I had to go with the flow. And this year is the first year that I'm really working at a full-time plus level. Like I've always been coaching since I started running, but as a head coach, it's kind of definitely a new challenge.
You're on sort of all the time.
Yeah, there you are, and so you're emotionally connected. It's a physically demanding job being a college coach. You're traveling a lot. You're on your feet a lot, and so yeah. And I've always been kind of a lower mileage kind of athlete, and so I feel like I just try to get fit, and hopefully it lines up with a race. And so it's been fun. I mean, I did run a race during the build up around the New York City half in the middle of March, which was a lot of fun. We had I think 6 Saucony athletes in the top 10, so it was super cool to be running along with them, which is a lot of fun for me. Like I said at the beginning, the team element, teamwork is a great thing, and I don't get to experience that all that much anymore as a pro. So tapping into that there was a lot of fun. But yeah, just trying to be consistent, and you don't need to hit any home runs. Just got to string together a bunch of base hits and show up on race day fit and healthy.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I want to BQ this year." It's like, well, I just had a conversation with Peter Bromka, and he was saying, you can tell me that you want to BQ this year, but what if I tell you that you should plan 3 years out, or you should, you want to Olympic trials qualify. You're not doing that this year, 5 years out. What sort of tips do you have for people that are looking to string together consistency and looking to put together season after season as a coach and as an athlete?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to patience. You just gotta be patient. Like, you can't do it all at once. It's a difficult thing to tell an athlete that, especially often either a newer athlete or a high-level athlete both have the same things. Like, a newer athlete is seeing a lot of improvement quickly, and they want more of it.
Right. More miles.
They're like, well, I did X, and now I'm running this fast. So if I do 2X, I'll run twice as fast.
Yeah.
Whereas they got to learn the peaks and valleys of training over time. And then the elite athlete, if they get a taste of victory or a taste of breakout performance, they want another one.
Right.
And so that's a difficult thing. So for me, I try to view every season as kind of an independent thing. You are building on a cumulative body of work, but every run you go on is a different day and a different time of year. Like, you can't compare one run you did to another. Right. So for me, just having that patience to put the bricks down one by one is really important. And then just to balance the rest with the work. And so I've always been okay with days off and weeks off, and just giving my body and my mind a chance to kind of freshen up and prepare for the next one. So,
do you take a weekly rest day?
Yeah, usually at least once a week. We tried to go once every 10 days or so, and it was okay. And then I'll cross train a lot, if I'm having a rough day or if it's icy or something like that, yep. I'll cross train. So, but usually trying to run 6 days a week. That's pretty much been the case since I was a college athlete.
And for you said you're not on the higher mileage side of things. What is a consistent, in season, in training week look like for you?
Yeah, I'd say I'm probably usually in the high 60s, low 70s. So, during marathon prep, we'll try to have 1 or 2 big sessions a week, and then the rest of the days are kind of recovery work or tune-up type stuff. That seemed to work pretty well. I can handle the long workouts pretty well, but I've just never been able to really double or string together like a lot of days in a row. Mainly because I've been working, I think. It has something to do with it. Like, I'm getting my double in, walking down to the track and back every day. And,
right. You're getting time on the feet.
Yeah. And so that's what my college coach, Matt Kerr, would say is like, this is your training. You walk 2 miles to campus every day and you walk 2 miles home. He's like, you're here running around stressing out. Like that's
stress is stress.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think that's the biggest thing that people are missing. That like work stress is adding on top of your training stress. And like my coach has us all on Monday rest days because Monday is often the most stressful day of the week. And so you remove the physical training stress and add the life stress, and it sort of balances out.
Yeah, exactly.
What are some tips you would have for Tim of 2010 or 2008? Looking 10 years back.
Yeah, I would just tell that dude to take better care of his body. Like I think I've been gifted a pretty good engine, but a pretty fragile frame.
Yep.
And so it's always been so easy for me to or it was when I was younger, to just roll out of bed and be ripping sub 6 minute miles like on a daily basis. And my old club teammates here in Boston would always never run with me because I'd go run 10 milers in 58 minutes every day.
Yeah.
And they'd be running 7:30 pace on the river.
Yeah.
And so that stuff always came so easy that I didn't do much self-care in the way of like mobility, strength work, good nutrition, hydration. Like these are all things now that, looking back, my coaches would push on me and I just kind of wouldn't take them as seriously. Yeah. And now that I'm paying the price for like my sins of youth, it's like, man, if only I drank more water. Like it's something so simple, like do a plank every now and then, sort of thing. Warm up before you go running.
10 miles. Yeah. What is your mobility work? Do you do chiro? Do you do acupuncture? Things like that? What's a week outside of running look like?
Yeah. A lot of it is just self-care, and I'm still like, honestly, I'm still like kind of a bum about it. And some of that I use the excuse of work. It's like, oh, well, I'll finish a run and be like, oh, I got to get to the office. But, there's time. And I tell my guys who like complain about not having enough time in the day. I'm like, dude, you're in college. You have.
I know the UMass life. You have time.
There's plenty of time to sit and stretch for 5 minutes, and so I'm trying to get better at it. And, I had a great support staff out here in Boston when I lived here, and then even in New Haven when I was in Connecticut. So I'm still trying to like assemble my team of providers out in Western Mass. But yeah, just trying to spend some time, little things, foam rolling, stretching, like doing some stability work. I'm in the weight room twice a week with the UMass team, and that's been awesome. Like we got a great strength and conditioning coach, and she's got a good plan for us, and so I'm feeling a lot stronger.
So you're doing the workouts with?
Yeah, I'm doing them with the guys. Yeah, mainly so I can get a sense of like how does that translate to their running, and also I just think it's the right stuff to do. Yeah. And so I'm really happy with her plan, and guys are running well and staying healthy because of it. So trying to push like the do as I say, not as I did thing on them, and they're, for the most part, they're buying it. And it's hard to get college kids to drink water and go to bed before midnight. But
instead of Bud Lights.
Yeah.
Or it was Keystone at UMass.
Keystone, yeah. Not these guys, though. No, they're all good guys.
And you do online coaching too, right?
Yeah, I've been coaching with McKirdyTrained, like 3 years now. So yeah, that's been awesome. I've really kind of enjoyed coaching a variety of athletes.
What's the range there? Is it new runners? Is it?
Yeah, it's over the course of the 3 years, it's been everybody. Like I coach some people who I would consider elite athletes, like Olympic trials qualifiers and things like that. And then when I was in New Haven, we'd run some programs for the local 20K, and you'd get people who, like this one woman, she ran 11 minutes and 30 seconds for the mile at practice, and that was the fastest she'd ever run a mile in her whole life. And I was like, this is amazing. Yeah. And so seeing it all and trying to learn, like, okay, how does my experience coaching elite athletes at the collegiate level,
right,
and being an elite athlete, how can I translate that to somebody who's figuring all this stuff out for the first time? And it's been a great journey, and they've all been really patient, really, they've all been super supportive. So it's been fun. And then I got everybody in between, people here running Boston and things like that.
What does the athlete coach relationship look like for online coaching?
So I try to keep my athlete roster pretty small, so I can develop a personal relationship with all of them. And so every athlete's different. Like I got one woman and she's great runner, and I just give her the training and she goes and does it, and it's like no issues.
Yeah.
It's like
Formulaic.
Yeah, so I'll like call her and be like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Everything went great. Everything's fine." I'm just like, "Okay, I'm here
Cool,
if you need me." like I want to do more, you know.
Yeah.
And then I had some athletes who are really curious learners and have been asking me questions and trying to see how it all pieces together. And now that we've been working together for a couple years, it's been fun to watch those relationships grow. So yeah, it's been great. Like I said, I probably coach about 12 athletes, and which is I think about the most I can do right now.
Cool. What's your favorite distance
to compete in?
Yeah,
I'd say it's a marathon.
What is it about the marathon?
Well, one, I think I'm good at it, or I hope to be good at it.
I'd say you're good at it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm good at it. I don't know. It's like the one race that I've never been nervous on the start line of. There's some sort of like tranquility to the distance.
Versus like a 5K.
Yeah, versus a 5K. Like, and every race has its merits. Like I love the mile when I did it, but man, I'd be like the energy getting ready to run a mile on an indoor track versus towing the line of a marathon is quite different. And they both have their merits, and just like I think where I'm at in my life right now, I just kind of enjoy the pace of the marathon and the community feel of it. But I was lamenting with my teammate Brian earlier today, like I was like, I don't think I'll ever put track spikes back on, and I kind of miss that feeling of being fast.
Yep.
So
we have a question from our good friend Seth Waltz. He wants to know, what is the coffee mug that you'll bring to the Olympics?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my collection grows bigger and bigger every day, so we got to figure out which is going to be the best one. But I got this great coffee and cats mug that I've really kind of grown attached to. So if I'm over in Tokyo without my little fur ball, I'll have to bring a mug or something to remember him by.
Is it your cat's face on the mug?
It's not my cat's face. No, it's kind of like a cartoon cat in a coffee mug.
Got it.
Yeah, I should get a personalized one of.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, he's like, I never had a pet growing up, and we got this cat 4 years ago, and he's the greatest thing in the world.
Nice. What gets you really excited? Why do you get up in the morning?
I don't know. Some mornings you wake up, you're like,
I'll go back to bed.
No, well, for me, it's great because I get to wake up next to my wife every day. And so I think that's the most exciting thing is like, just being able to spend another day with her. And, we've been on this great journey together for the last couple of years and going through some transitions. So, yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting year for me, this moving to a new place, starting a new job, meeting new people. And it hasn't been the easiest thing. There's been a lot of challenge in the transition for sure. But, I get up every day hoping to make the most of the day, try not to take it for granted. There's definitely moments these last 2 weeks, especially where I'm kind of like sitting and sulking and saying, like, you can't be doing this. Like, there's so much goodness out there.
Yeah.
So I get excited, when the guys are happy. I get excited when my wife comes home from a good day at work. I get excited to have a cup of coffee with my cat and slow down, I'm a pretty simple person. It doesn't take much to excite me, but I also don't really ever get too excited. I kind of ride a mellow emotional line, at least externally, where I only really vacillate between so high and so low.
The deviation is... It takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
What tips do you have for someone running their first marathon?
Is the first marathon the Boston Marathon?
Can be, could be.
I would just tell them to enjoy it. Like I think that's been the theme all along. Is like if you're not having fun doing this, you probably shouldn't be doing it. And anybody who's properly prepared for a marathon knows the amount of sacrifice they had to make to get to the start line, and so to take that for granted or to be nervous or to be worried about the next 26 miles would be a disservice to that hard work. So I would just encourage people to take a deep breath and just put one foot in front of the other. So
let it rip.
Yeah. So it's funny. I remember doing a panel discussion, and all the other people were like giving the cautious advice. And then I was like, man, if you're feeling good, just let it fly. Like,
Tear it.
Yeah, you never know when you're sitting on a winning lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Which can be great advice in a marathon, or it could be the worst advice in a marathon. So
especially a marathon like Boston.
Yeah. And so, but
this 10K downhill feels awesome.
Yeah, no, but then you never know, because like if Ryan Hall went out slow in 2011, he wouldn't have run 2:04. Like
Right.
I think he woke up and was like, "This is a special day. I'm gonna put it out there."
Right.
And that was an inspiring race for me watching that live. It was just these people just like sprinting down the backside of Heartbreak Hill, and it was just sometimes you got a feeling, you just got to go with it.
Gamble.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing. It's like if you finish and you feel good, it's kind of like, all right, cool, but what if, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, it's funny. I've run 6 marathons, and it's 3 for 6 as far as like how I feel.
Yeah.
And every time I have,
that's a great ratio.
it's not bad. I mean, if I was batting for the Red Sox 500, I'd be making a
baseball,
paycheck.
you're a killer.
Yeah. But it's like when you're in it and it's going well, you're just floating. It's, like when I won at CIM, until I crossed the finish line and vomited all over the place, it just felt like I was out for a run. Like I was just out for a run. So it's just one of those special days, I don't know if that was training or if it was what it was. It was just.
Could you feel that flow?
I mean, I did late. Like I was trying. The goal was to go through the half in 67, even if I was in last place. And so I went through like 66:50 or something. And then I started to pick off guys that were sitting in front of me.
Right.
And then I tried to just run off of effort, but and then I was peeking down at some splits and was running some 450s, 455s, and I was just like, oh dang, like slow down. You don't need to do that yet, but it just felt good. Yeah. So I was like, stopped looking at my watch and started racing it up for the last 10 miles, and it was just. Yeah, it's one of those days. So I think that's the thing with the marathon is like you could have that day or you could have the opposite of that day, and some of that is in your control and a lot of it's not.
Right.
So, you just kind of, like we were talking about at the beginning, it's about acceptance, it's about removing your expectations sometimes and just opening your heart and your mind and body to whatever you get.
Cool. I think that's a good note to end on here, and wish you the best luck on Monday. By the time this podcast comes out, we'll know what happens, but we'll see you out there. Hope to see you flying up mile 18.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yep.
That's it for today's episode. Like many long runs, it's sad when it has to end. I hope you join in next week on For the Long Run, and in the meantime, happy trails. If you've enjoyed this episode, it would mean a lot to me if you shared it so that others can find it and enjoy it too.